Good afternoon across the world. I'm absolutely delighted to share today's panel with everyone. So in this panel on investment and strategy on futures of cities and governments, I'm delighted to have three esteemed guests as my panel contributions. So I'd like to quickly introduce as the first speaker, Amir Guttman. He's the managing partner of Aviv Venture Capital based out of Tel Aviv in Israel, followed by the presentation that is shared by Angel Garcia. He is newly appointed the CEO of Barcelona Partners, being based out of Spain. As a third presentation and elaborating on his business will be Othmane Zrikem, founder of PropTech, based out of France, dealing with international projects. My name is Celine Wong. I'm based out of Liechtenstein. I'm the head of philanthropy and impact investments at VP Bank in the beautiful countryside of Liechtenstein. And in particular, I think it's super interesting to find out how in today's world and society, we are getting to know how the strategies work around the globe. So in particular, I think in order to have a sustainable future on a planet that is important to all of us, on the one and only soul, Mother Earth that we live on, we all need to mutually pull our energies and synergies together. So I'm very happy that on today's panel, we can pull together some ideas across the globe so that all this can be a very interactive and sharing platform. Shall you have any questions? I think we have a comment box on the side. Please let us know any questions that you may have, that we can also give you some answers that you may have. So on that, I would first like to switch over to the first presentation that Amir would like to share with us. Amir?
Thank you.
The stage is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I will share my screen. It will take me just 1 second. And can you see my screen share?
Not yet.
No? Why? Okay.
Now it's loading.
Okay.
You're good to go.
Very good. So thank you for the opportunity. Maybe I should start by presenting myself. I'm the founder and managing partner of Aviv Venture Capital out of Israel. Aviv is a boutique venture capital fund investing in what we call one-of-a-kind technology companies. We are looking for early-stage companies that provide significant differences, significant, very deep technology that differentiate those companies compared to the competition. And out of about 12 companies we invested over the last 10 years, we have here 2 unicorns, which is Valence and Orca. We sold, I'll talk in a bit about Briefcam, which was sold to Canon about a year and a half ago, and about some other companies if I have the time. The focus of our fund is on companies that deal with machine vision, companies that have a semiconductor technology and provide very significant relative advantage compared to the competition. As you know, Israel is a hub for technology innovation. We are ranked about 5 or 6 every year in terms of the Bloomberg Innovation Index, and the innovation ecosystem here in Israel is significant and strong. I was asked to talk about the investor's point of view when coming to evaluate a company in the smart cities domain. And as you know, when an investor is looking at a company, he's looking for the best opportunity, for the largest opportunity at the lowest risk. When we are talking about the first meeting of investor and entrepreneur, both investors and entrepreneurs have a goal, they have a reason why they come to the meeting, and the investor want to invest, the entrepreneur would like to get the best deal that he can get out of the investor. And the question is how they communicate and how they talk about the issues that will entice the investor to invest at the best terms from the point of view of the investor, of the entrepreneur. On the other hand, the investor would like to invest in the best deal that will have the lowest risk and the highest potential return. So both of them are sitting at the different sides of the table. And sometimes when you sit at different sides of the table, you see different things. And I like this picture very, very much because when you are on the one side of those sticks, you see four sticks. On the other side, if you switch sides, you see 3 sticks. And actually, this is something that actually show us in every negotiation, not just with investors, that basically you need to consider the other side point of view when you present a presentation. So I'll get into the domain, smart city projects. The good news is that smart city projects are well needed, and everyone agreed that we need a higher quality of life, we need economic competitiveness, we need sustainability, and this is why many major cities around the world are doing those projects. Every investor is looking at the team. You know that, and this is not something that is related to a smart cities project or not, but a team is always better than one-man show. We are looking at diversity of the team, we are looking at complementarity, we are looking at an experienced team, and we're looking at a team that will be able to pivot at the right time, at the right place, to the right direction. Now we come to the point. And I try to focus on a number of points that are special and unique to smart city projects. The VC industry would like to invest in products or services that are highly scalable, highly profitable, that are unique, that have significant relative advantage. Now, if we look at projects, at smart city project, basically we are talking about large infrastructure projects. We are not looking at products. We are not looking at services. Those projects are large, they are capital intensive, they take very long time, they relatively low profit margins, and major components of the project is integration and installation of hardware. Those projects are not suitable for venture capital investors. But after the infrastructure is in place, those projects actually need the smart component. The smart component usually is software. It is enable the collection and analysis of data. It can make recommendations. It can use artificial intelligence. It can communicate, enable communication and collaboration of members of the ecosystem. Those type of projects can be put in the right business model and provide the right risk return profiles that venture capital investors are looking for. Startups are best suited to achieve these goals. Just as an example, one of my portfolio companies, Briefcam, it's a company that we invested at a very early stage when we took this technology from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, technology that enable looking at a video, 1 hour video in 1 minute. It allows searching the video. It allows finding a person within a very large crowd, finding a unique car out of a highway in which you have many, many cars that are going around. And basically this unique technology of video synopsis allow doing very, very unique and high value add activities when you're talking about managing a city. The problem is that you need to install this technology only once you have cameras in place covered around the city. You need to have very large data centers that can collect all this video infrastructure, and you need people, smart people that are able to operate this system. So basically, it took us very long time to penetrate the market. We started with the FBI in the US. We went to Europe. We went to large campuses like the Google and Facebook campus in the US. As you know, in Israel, we don't have a market. It is a very, very small market. Most companies start from the very, very early stage to sell in foreign markets their products. And about a year and a half ago, we got an offer which we could not refuse from Canon, and they integrated this technology into their product offering. So this is a big success story of a smart city project that is being used today in many countries around the world. Another issue in Safe City project is the maturity of the technology. And it is very important both for the city, but also for the investors. Many times entrepreneurs have an idea and they have technology proof, but the distance between technology proof to productization and creating initial sales is very, very, very long. Basically, the maturity of the product is developing slowly upon installation, first installation, second installation, receiving feedback from the customers and making changes, going from version 1 to version 2 to version 3. And it is very, very important for the investor and for the customers to understand the maturity level of a product. When we are talking about smart city projects, we cannot afford ourselves come up to a project with a product that is not 100% mature, that can serve millions of people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, etc., etc. The next thing is the business model. The business model, from the point of view of an investor, is extremely important. Decisions about what is the product? Is it a software? Is it a hardware? Is it a service or a product? What are the sales channels that are going to bring this product to the market? And who are the business partners whom I'm going to the market will affect eventually the scalability of the project, the visibility of future revenues, the cost structure, and the capital intensity of the project. These are the issues that actually affect the investment decision of a venture capital fund. Next one, and I think I don't have much time, so I'll go faster, barriers to entry. Barriers to entry are very, very important when we are working on large projects with very large companies. If we want to make sure that our product will stay unique, will stay ours, and will be able to replicate the installation in different cities, we have to protect our technology, our intellectual property. We have to know what are the price barriers below which we are going to have additional competition, and so on and so on. The last one, and I will not elaborate on this, is having a competitive analysis which we can understand and base our go-to-market strategy based on our competition. It is very, very important, since we come from very long distance to our installations. It is very important that we'll be able to penetrate the market in a very smooth way that will not require too much energy from a startup companies that doesn't have the resources to penetrate the market. I'll be happy to answer additional questions later during the discussion. Thank you.
Right. Amir, thank you so much for those insights. I must recall that I had been on various of innovation trips to Tel Aviv myself, and I must say I'm always very much fascinated by the smartness of connecting various of technology pieces and create a new product. So thank you for giving us the insights, because also for you as a VC investor, you probably get a lot of interesting prospects on your desk and investment opportunities. So I will probably grill you on those questions later on during the panel. So dear audience, I'd like to now give the stage to Angel Garcia of Barcelona Partners. He'll have the next 10-15 minutes to quickly elaborate on Barcelona Partners.
Yeah, thank you, Celine. I was introduced as the founding partner of Philanthropy Digital Venture. That has been my life the last 5 to 6 years. But I, as I said before, I just switched. I has been appointed as the new CEO of Barcelona Partners, which is an investment agency for the city of Barcelona. So we don't even have a website yet. We don't even have a presentation, but they put together some slides about what we are doing and trying to provide some value to the panel. Otherwise, my presentation will be very close to the ones that Amir just delivered, because we have been in the same kind of business, in the same space, in the digital. Let me see. So my screen should be appear soon. Okay, now we have this. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, very brief, because I don't want to speak too much about the Barcelona Partners. I think it's not about us. It's not about what we do. But I'm going to try to bring some points and some interesting points to the panel that is about investment and strategies on future cities and governments. But few things about Barcelona Partners. So Barcelona Partners is an international private. I will go to the private thing agency for Barcelona later on. So therefore, our goal is to attract international audiences or companies to Barcelona, helping them to come and grow the Barcelona businesses, and persuading these international organizations to set up and grow in Barcelona. So this is the main goal. Okay, so interesting thing here is that typically we have these kind of agencies are public agencies. In our case, we are a private agency, meaning that we are supported by major local and international corporations that are financing our activities, and because they have a strong interest to Barcelona growth and attracting those interesting companies in very specific sectors to come to Barcelona. We also have the public support, so we can be some kind of non-profit entity with the main goal, as I said, to attract interesting companies to the city. Barcelona has a global international recognition for different things. For it's very innovative and entrepreneurial city. It's a very nice place to live. And I'm going to move ahead of that. So there are several reasons to invest in Barcelona, but again, I don't want to stop on this because I don't think it's the topic of the panel. And Barcelona, we want to focus in some specific areas. So being a private agency, so probably we don't have all the resources that public institutions or public investment agencies has. So we focus in very specific areas or segments where Barcelona has something to offer to those companies. So some of the areas are here. So Barcelona is very strong in life science, in the genomics. We have several institutions and universities developing very, very good outcomes in this space. We are very good as well in the smart mobility or in the quantum computing, when we have one of the most relevant supercomputers in Europe. But my point was trying to address some challenge, probably some discussion for later with the panel, coming to the topic of the panel. What could be the best strategies and investment for future cities? Something that I think is the topic of the panel. And I was thinking about that, and probably we can think about different things that we are going to say in this panel about have to be sustainable and connected with very advanced technologies, with innovative ecosystems in the city. But in my opinion, and probably in the opinion of Barcelona Partners, the most important thing and the best strategies or investment for future cities is talent. The ability to attract the right talent to your city, to your place, in order to help them to develop their own personal career. Because today, and I have the opportunity, just today I have a meeting with the Indian ambassador in Spain, and we were having this discussion that today talented people really are willing to choose the people that they want, where they want to live. So if they see a specific place where they have all the checks, all the things that they need, probably they will move to this place. Maybe 20 years ago, you have a nice job in your hometown, probably you are going to stay there forever. But today, talent is very sometimes picky, and they want to choose the place to live. So what talent want? So talent probably want an attractive place to live. I think that everybody want that. A safe and secure city where they can live. With a competitive cost of living, probably we can find one or two in some places, but sometimes a very high cost. And maybe other people might try to find other things. But another important thing, especially for talented people, is a place to develop your professional career. Meaning that cities that want to attract these talented people, they need to have 1, 2, or 3, but they also have to have number 5, meaning that they have to attract the companies where these talented people can develop a professional career. So I just wanted to introduce this point, and I want to be very brief, because this could be one of the topics for further discussion in the panel, that beyond technologies or sustainable products or infrastructures, probably talent, in our opinion, is a very important asset to attract to your city in order to be really, really competitive.
Right.
That was my point.
Thank you so much, Angel. For sure, Barcelona is one of the most enjoyable city for younger people. So I must recall whenever I went to Barcelona, I saw lots of very happy students that get to enjoy the city as well as the beautiful beaches. So with that, I would like to pass it on to a different city. It could be Paris or in Germany. So Othmane, the CEO and founder of PropTech, is going to lead us quickly through his presentation. And then we will be opening up discussions for the panel after that. So Othmane, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Celine. Very nice being with you all, guys. I'm sharing my screen. Up. Perfect. So just by means of introduction about myself, so I'm Othmane Zrikem. I'm co-founder, chief data officer at PropTech. I'm a technologist by training, more into data science. And today I'm going to speak to you a bit about my vision of technology in future cities and the intricacies between the big tailwinds that we have, everything related in climate, and the actual technologies that are deployable in the cities. So just a quick overview of who we are at PropTech. We're the largest PropTech-focused VC in Europe with 250 million euro. We do invest in all type of real estate technologies, and today is really about showing you my perspective about how we're helping the different type of assets being more tech-driven. We had the opportunity to join the World Economic Forum as a global innovator, and this was like a validation of our focus about the transformation of the built environment, specifically for the decarbonization, which is one of our main topic of investment. When I look as a VC investor at the future of cities, it's really about assessing all type of assets that are living within the city and the type of technology that can empower them. So this mapping that I've made gives you a bit of a perspective of how things are investable for us as VCs. So obviously, when you think of real assets, you have the classical residential, office, retail, logistics, data centers, life science, all the infrastructure that comes within it, and all the overlayer technology, which can give you some very interesting takes on what type of innovation you want to bring to those stakeholders. So construction technology, climate tech, as I mentioned, you're all familiar with smart city, smart building, and smart homes approaches. You have everything related to the prop fintech or the hospitality tech or logistic tech. What is really important now, from what we see in several cities, specifically in Europe, but also now in US with the new Biden administration, is a clear focus on decarbonizing all those assets and still bringing a lot of value to the different stakeholders. So not only the landlords, but also the tenants, as well as any person who kind of benefit from those elements. So from my perspective, the future city is really towards climate conscious technology for better governed cities. And there are main factors for those climate conscious approach. If we think of Europe, there is the European regulation and other worldwide government initiatives which are targeting this. I think that earlier today, actually, the European Commission has communicated about the climate package and the post-stimulus package. So it's also related to everything in green financing. We think that it's going to be a massive uptake in everything related to industrial as well as infrastructure, which will be linked to the technology as well as green financing. And this will impact massively the cities because you have a lot of incentives programs, either at the city tax level or just at the broader level when it comes to those stimulus packages. And it's obviously about the technological solutions and available products. So today, I'm going to walk you through several different approaches which are profitable from a technological standpoint and that do make sense for the different stakeholders, and they're addressing the different aspects of a city, but still having also the resolving and applying some differentiated strategies in order to bring more climate conscious approach. So I will start by construction life cycle in all assets and how we can make it greener for those cities, speaking a bit about the residential real estate paradigm shift that we have, the commercial real estate, data centers, and infrastructure. So if we look at the construction life cycle, I think that there are two main trends that we will see. There is one which is linked to data science and deep physics, and another one which is more within the classical hardware stuff. So that's pretty much from conception to construction. So in consumption, there is a company called Visca, which is actually one of our portfolio company, which helped do something that we call CLA, or carbon life cycle assessment. So it's a SaaS-based data science eco-conception platform intended to design low-carbon buildings. The idea is to provide from importing 3D models from digital mockups and create a database of architectural and technical alternatives to explore the design alternative using data visualization techniques and arbitrate between different materials to catalyze the discussion and decision-making, enabling designers and builders to use tools and methods for building better carbon-efficient buildings. So I think that it is something that will really prevail moving forward because you have more and more of the different regulation that is actually gearing towards this. So the climate package I spoke about earlier on, you have one specific directive, which is called ERI 2020, which is going to be implicated where you need to make those kind of CLA, so carbon life cycle assessments for every new build. And you will have several levels of engagement based on your carbon footprint. You have also some other companies, as I mentioned, Carbon Cure, and these guys, they're developing a CO2 utilization technology designed to solve climate change. What it means really is that they manufacture technology for concrete producers that introduces recycled CO2 into fresh concrete to reduce the carbon footprint of concrete without compromising the performance. So those are the differentiated approach that have just been raised like for the past couple of years. So Viscab is a 2-year-old company. Carbon Crew is a 4-year-old company. And I think that we're going to have much more of these moving forward. If I look at the residential real estate, it's really about sustainable residential assets through tech. There are two big trends when it comes to residential real estate. There is this big trend which we call the build to rent and the multifamily. It started kind of in the US. It's also quite expanding in China, but we still to see its development in Europe, and it definitely has some tailwinds. So the company I'm going to speak about in this specific topic is O11H, and they have a next generation construction company which they found with the aim of using that technology to create high quality, affordable residential buildings with a focus on health and sustainability. So not only trying to use some more reusable materials such as wood, it's also by embedding the right level of BMS as well as health monitoring metrics within the new build environment. But there is also the big challenge about more sustainable single family. I think that it was earlier this week that I saw a note from Jeffries who mentioned that constructors need to build up to 2 million homes to accommodate home buying millennials in the US alone. Plant prefab is basically a custom architectural homes empowering individuals, developers, and architects with a faster, higher quality, and more sustainable way to build. So it's basically bringing the prefab with a more climate-conscious approach. And I think that for resolving the residential housing crisis market, we're going to be leveraging a lot of those technologies. So again, here, some companies which are doing both the design and the construction phase, and they are leveraging some things such as generative design, but also some prefab technologies. If I'm looking at the commercial real estate, I think that it is one of the most vivid topic that has been having some good traction and actually track record and ROI. So a lot of things, from air purification and energy saving, and here there is a company called Enverid, which is basically helping to monitor and improve the poor quality, the indoor quality of the air. And there is also some other companies such as Aquicore, which is basically about energy building and teams optimization. Aquicore is really bringing the analytics best practice in building management through some kind of different metrics and helping, for example, the company to lower upfront HVAC system costs and reduce them from 15 to 30%. So those kind of approaches have been upticking in many of the large cities. So if you look at the portfolio of those companies, for example, Enverid is a European company, but Aquicore is a US company that we backed, you're going to see that you have the large landlords with the large city centers. So basically things happening from New York to DC to LA, etc. This is where you have those portfolio management techniques where people really want to optimize their office buildings as part of the value they add to their tenants, and also about the saving they want to do from a financial standpoint for their own assets. So you have a lot of alignment around this so far. There is obviously the question about the industrial and everything that is happening within that real estate asset class, which is not really clean and most of the time is a burden for cities. Here again, two companies, really interesting, two different approaches. Metron, which is a Paris-based company, and they develop a data platform which helps to cut energy consumption through industrial operations, which are very specific and could vary quite a lot, as well as another company called Carbon Engineering, which is a Canadian company. And for them, it's really about helping company to develop innovative technology to pull carbon dioxide and greenhouse gas out of ambient air. So basically capturing carbon dioxide while they're producing it within their own facility. So all those approaches are also fairly new. And we know that with the type of investment that they will get from VC folks like myself and others, as well as the alignment that gets the cities at the right level of engagement, either in tax cuts or also in incentives, will help those kind of companies mature in terms of technology and address the wider scale. In terms of infrastructure, there are a lot of data-driven practices, but a lot of the city mappers and that I've been speaking to, either in Paris or London, etc., it's really about bringing some data-driven metric about how they think and they assess their own assets. So, for example, a company such as AI Clearing, they developed a construction progress reporting platform, which is designed to effectively provide fully autonomous progress tracking in real time to identify red flags. They want to process inputs from construction projects and generate payment approvals based on accurately measured progress and delivers analysis and reports. And they do this specifically through enhancing a mix of AI and GIS data. So that would be information for drones or for satellites. You have also some other companies which are trying to optimize for the resources that are obviously well needed in cities. I spoke a lot about energy, but water management is also one of the biggest challenges we have. And Ketos, for example, is a company that is developing an actionable water analytics technology, which is basically trying to drive a global impact on water management and safety. This technology incorporates hardware and software. So there is some smart IoT connectivity options with secure data. And the idea is really to showcase some insight about the water usage, the leaks, as well as the quality, amongst several other metrics. We think that those kind of approach for the cities are very important because you want to mitigate the food and water security risk and proactively solve real-world water issues with real-time analytics. So it is part of the journey where we're bringing more and more data science-driven projects to some kind of infrastructure metrics. I will just finalize by one of the things which is really important that has been developing a lot, which is obviously the data centers. And just to give you a perspective about how the consumption and the energy consumption from the data centers has been just skyrocketing. Conventional data centers has 40% of its electrical usage basically used for air conditioning and cooling systems. So not even for powering the microchips, but just to cool them down. In 2018, out of the EU, about 76.8 terawatt-hour were used, and it could grow by 28% by 2030. And basically, this will give you like a perspective. This is the equivalent of the annual electricity production of a country such as Belgium. So it is massive. And it is massive in terms of footprint and specifically in terms of carbon footprint. In 2020, obviously, with COVID and everything, the internet traffic surged more than 40% between February and mid-April. So we know that those kind of trends are just not set in the past, but it's really much a forward thing. For the next 10 years, we're going to have increasing demands in terms of edge computing, because those are part of the things that we're going to be servicing for better connectivity and for everybody's use cases. So we are looking at different companies, and here, for example, Carnot Computing is one that we backed, which have developed a computing heater intended to offer high-performance computers using embedded source as a heat resource. So basically, instead of having a cooling system, they built a computing boiler and a computing heater that is reusing the heat to warm buildings and warm water, while the microchips are actually producing some computing power that can be sold to people who need those computing power. So those are the kind of alternative approaches that we now see and are very relevant for some of the center cities, because they want to develop their edge compute strategy. And now they know that they can distribute it through different aspects by still reusing the energy 2 times, which will effectively reduce the carbon footprint and still serve to the stack that they need to develop and deploy when it comes to infrastructure for a country or for a city. So I will pause there, as I know we had only 15 minutes, but yeah, happy to take any questions and to walk you through some of the other thinking.
Brilliant. Thank you, Othmane. That was definitely a good insight in how you operate. And I also very much like the sort of the entire circular economy and looping in all the important elements, because clearly property, it's what's affected mostly everyone. We already have a question actually for Lin Xuan Tra. Thank you for posing that question. She's asking, what difficulties does Israel meet when implementing smart city projects? So I think due to the region, Amir, this question probably will come to your way.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the question. I'm coming from the high-tech ecosystem in Israel, and when thinking about smart city projects, we are thinking about, as I mentioned before, about the technology component of the smart city. Obviously, when smart cities are installed, you need to do a lot of infrastructure, a lot of work before you come to this component. And to tell you the truth, I'm not involved in this stage at all. So in the companies, in the startups that I'm involved with, we are looking at the global market, at the markets outside of Israel. The markets in Israel are very, very small. Usually we install our technology in Israel as a beta site, as a pilot, as a trial before we go on the market. So you can install it in a project, and then you come back to the lab. You improve the user interface, you improve the performance of the equipment, you improve the performance of the software, and then you go again. And after you try it once again, then you go outside. Then you go to the US, then you go to Europe, you go to other markets, etc., etc. So to tell you the truth, I'm not involved in smart city project in Israel, but I know some smart city projects outside of Israel.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a very good and direct answer to that question. But potentially, does Oh, there's another question from Stephen, actually. Thank you for asking that question. So Stephen is asking, does this smart city technology support resilience at both the personal and public scale? Stephen, is there somebody you'd like to direct this question to in particular? Otherwise, is there anybody from you who'd like to take it?
Happy to speak to it. I think that definitely the smart city technology needs to service both, because you have the end users, which is obviously somebody who can be on the professional side or just like a normal person living out of his place. But when it comes to the city and the type of incentives they want to put in place, they have been pressured to get better budgeting when it comes to integrating technology and servicing the larger the larger needs for their end users. So I think it's really about a clean balance about the type of elements and efficiencies that you want to bring to both of them. And when I look at some things, for example, such as water management, and I gave an example, the underwriter for this solution is going to be the city at the end because it's the infrastructure. But the end result for the food and water safety is actually the end user. So the resilience is really built by both of them.
Yeah. And maybe adding to that, sorry. Angel?
I have a comment here because I think that we, to some extent, we are missing concepts. We are talking, the panel is about future cities, and we are talking about smart cities. And there are some future cities that will be smart, and there are some future cities that won't be smart. And if a city becomes a smart city or not, meaning that we might discuss what is a smart city, but I believe that is a city that can afford or allow to have such technologies that we are describing here from the venture capitalists. That for the venture capitalists, what is the technology? To some extent, it doesn't care. We're investing in this specific company. It's in Paris or it's in Berlin, whatever. But for the city itself, in order to become a smart city, first they need to properly grow, to become a relevant city and be able to have the economics and other things that allow them to become a smart city and to have access to all the technologies that we are describing here. But I think that these two different things, the future of cities, I think, and governments, that is the subject of the panel. And it's very easy to think about the smart cities, but it's not necessarily the same thing.
And maybe adding to that, it may also be a meeting place for both public and private sectors, right? So I believe, but correct me on that if I have picked the wrong country, it's one of the Middle East, Eastern Europe countries, whether it was Poland or Czech Republic, that you could actually bring your bottles, your empty plastic bottles, and purchase a bus ticket or a public transport ticket. So sometimes it's not a massive major technology piece, but yet by actually recycling the waste that everybody produces, it then also gives you the benefit to use it in your daily life. So, and now with today's connectivity that everyone has, we see also the prime examples in China with WeChat. Everybody is using it. So there are already ways of engaging the public to be more mindful about their actions and their daily lives.
Yeah, I also remember one funny one that was you can get a free bus ticket or free subway ticket if you do 10 push-ups. Do some kind of camera recognition if you push up 10 times. So in order to have healthy population, okay, you can get a free transportation, but you have to do the 10 push-ups. So it was really funny to see a line of people waiting to do the 10 push-ups in order to get the free ticket. But it's something similar to the same thing that you just mentioned.
Yes. Well, it's also engaging and getting, again, I think very nicely of you, Angel, mentioning it before, it's all got to do with talent and people, right? On one side, we're kind of destroying our planet and we need to urgently look for technologies and ways to reverse the damages that we have done to Mother Nature. On the other side, we also need to see how the future concept of living and lifestyle will be accordingly adapted as well. And then, of course, there's the danger of questioning whether too much technology is making the human actual being dumber, right? Like in the sense that I was recently talking to a professor who shared that unfortunately, with now so many sources for journals and academic research is all based on some internet website, it's so easy that you could somehow also create content that is not accurate or fake news. And the question is, does technology also change humanity to slow their evolutionary progress on the intelligence part, or are we actually too much relying on technology and everything, that in the future we all be obese because nobody's going to walk anymore, we will be on hoverboards? Exactly.
It may be. The question is, how do you define, quality of life? Do you define quality of life in a way that you don't need to do anything, or do you define quality of life as safe, healthy, sustainable, and efficient, and and you can still exercise, you can still eat whatever you want and enjoy quality of life?
That's very true.
Yeah,
I think that kind of slips very nicely to the next question that's posed by Guru Tavastaken. How about smart road concepts? So, panelists, would you have an opinion on that?
Well, I think that the example that I gave you about this company Briefcam that is able to find a car or a person or a bicycle in a very busy highway or a very busy city actually provides you some idea about how countries and municipalities are thinking about it. Safety is done, there is always some kind of a give and take between safety and privacy. And when you are looking for someone in a highway, somebody that is driving not according to the laws, somebody that are going to that is violating the way people are supposed to drive in a city, and you can find him and you can take him off the road, so other people will be able to drive safely and arrive safely to their homes. But on the other hand, you take some privacy from those people that you are following, and those cameras and those technologies and that enable you to find people, to find cars, to find objects, whatever it is, actually reduces our privacy. So I think it applies to roads, it applies to public places, it applies to any place you go, and this is type of
Yeah, I think that there is another way to look at that. I mean, we're talking about smart road is because we believe that there are too many cars. Maybe a different way to look at that from the city point of view is to try to have less cars, because we do things that are affecting the needs of people to use the car or not. So people don't need to move so much, or public transportation is much more efficient, or people is living close to their job place. So I think it's that not always technology is about to try to fix issues. Sometimes it's to try to avoid to have those issues. And again, this is a different way to look at that, from much more from the city perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but also adding to that, smart road could be also the material used to build roads. I actually saw a piece of technology where they were including certain, I'm not sure whether it was solar, but there was like some sort of a how shall I call it, metal or like a coverage. And basically they were trying to get the roads to also be effective and produce electricity, and people walking on it. Clearly that is also some friction, and friction will then create energy. So
there are a couple of technologies working on this. So that would be on the infrastructure side. So about those kind of things. So yeah, there are indeed two companies now who are working on a way of layering some solar panels on the side of the road and just getting some efficiencies to power the lamps that are around it, but also to be part of a smart grid. You also have some other people who have been working on sensor detections within the road to kind of project some other things. Also about what would be the tax that you need to pay. So for example, if you are in London, you know that in certain part of the city, you have to pay another tax whenever you get into central London. So they just want to have this, but dynamic, based on some sensors that are within the road. So for example, at any given time of the day, if there are not that many people, and basically you regulate that and it's okay, nobody get fined. But whenever there is too much of a pressure, it kind of dynamically reallocates some kind of fines and things like that. So I think that for that, definitely there are going to be more applications that will be applying part of the needs from those cities. So you can think of it basically two ways: either the parts or the places which are very crowded, and usually those places you don't want to do too much retrofitting because it's just too costly. So you're going to be trying to leverage some kind of smart mobility technology. So I think the example given by Amir is really smart, and this is the things that you see there. But people who are trying to build some new cities, and you have some examples. For example, now in Vietnam, they're trying to make like a whole new city, and they're thinking of those kind of things. You also have things like even in Middle East, like the new big technological city they want to do in Saudi Arabia, those kind of things. So they're thinking of what should they embed as of day one in order to implement part of those policies that will be defined at the city level.
Okay, then we have the next question coming up from Antonio. He's asking, the issue of smart cities is linked to processes, levels of maturity for different indicators, etc. The implementation of specific technologies is part of the process. How do we overcome the challenges?
I think it's a good question, and it's a bit of a mixed bag. I think that from my experience working with some cities, so for example, I worked a lot with Paris for their data program, Smart City, like for the past 4 or 5 years. Also with Taipei in Taiwan and those kind of things. It's really important to have like several level of intricacies between the people who are coming from the city hall, so the people who are working for the city, as well as the different the different agencies, either private or public, which are working with them, because this is really about overlaying some technologies for getting those results. And to overcome those challenges, they need to budget properly for some of those internal teams. As of now, I think it's been a big challenge for some of the cities because they had to rely a lot on external expertise. So mostly consultants and third-party technologies who are actually trying to sell to them. So they kind of judge and party. So I guess that those kind of process and the level of maturity will grow when the cities will also incorporate more of that technological staff in-house. And I think that New York City have made a pledge about this, Boston, San Francisco. So some US cities are more mature than others. Austin is also one of them. I know also that some European cities are linking this to some sustainability challenge, so carbon footprint assessment and things like that. So I think that those processes will just, be better managed when part of that management incentive will be actually assessed internally in the cities, as opposed to just working with a lot of different parties which sometimes are conflicted.
No, smart cities, just to add to what Othmane said, is, smart cities is a combination of new infrastructure, new services, new technologies, and changes in the behavior of people. So this is something that obviously is a process. And it is a process that we are at the very, very early stage of this process, but it will continue for a very long time. And just like, we developed new technology, and we cannot develop a new technology at the lab without the potential customers, without the potential distributors to the market. We need the entire ecosystem to provide inputs to this new technology about the way it is being used, about the way it is being sold, about the ways it is being manufactured or manipulated on the way. So all of this is group work. It is a work that needs a lot of collaboration. It needs a lot of discussion. And usually when you develop an innovative technology, you have version 1, you take it out for some friendly users, you get their comments, and then you go back to the lab and you change the user interface and you change the hardware and the software, and then you go back and you try it again, and then you come back. So I think it is exactly the same for smart city software, smart city services and technologies. It needs to be trial and error, and go back and change it and trial and error, and then eventually it will evolve and mature over time.
Yeah, definitely. I think the adoption of new technologies, that is where Amir is saying, the adoption of new technologies, in my opinion, for cities, because you are talking about places with thousands and millions of people, have to come together with changes in their behavior. We cannot expect that everything is going to be fixed by technology. And because there are cities that probably could not afford those kind of technologies. So there should be always a combination of maybe new things, but also changes in the behaviors of people in big cities.
Mm-hmm. All right. I think it's time now that we kind of need to wrap up this discussion. And I like the fact that there are so many questions that clearly shows there's a high interest as well as curiosity by the audience. So the audience, thank you so much for your attention. But one of my favorite questions that I like to wrap up and I like to ask all of the people is, I would like to hear what is your favorite book and secrets, favorite read that you like to share with everyone. Anyone? Let me start. So one of my favorite books is definitely, hands down, Sapiens, the brief history of human mankind. I think it's super resourceful. It's written by Yuval Noah Harari, and definitely it is quite a bit of a chunk, but I had read it already 2 or 3 times. My favorite book. Anyone has another recommendation?
Too many come to mind sometimes, but I will go with one which is basically 19th century French novelist called Balzac. And I've been rereading one of his book, which I like very much, which is part of La Comédie Humaine, called Illusion Perdue. So I would recommend this one. Nothing techy there, but a lot about the information technology in the early 19th century through this story. So it's really, really interesting.
A good classic. Thank you. I'll take a note on that. Anyone else? Cool.
Well, depending of the audience or depending of the period of my life, I might recommend different books, because you are speaking with different people and you are in the different periods of life. Probably if it was 10 years ago, starting companies, I would recommend the Lean Startup thing and these kind of things are very, very common. But I recently, and probably this is a much more personal thing, and I don't know if this is a personal question or not, and reading about a book that is called Invictus, that is talking about stoicism, how, well, this is a whole thing, being stoic people and the way that you think and the way that you act. It's a very personal thing, but really has been helping me a lot in the last 2 years. It's like a new, different way of thinking, very, very personal thing.
Yeah. Good. Right, we're running out of time. Thank you so much, all panelists. Really enjoyed it. And thank you to the audience that posed a really interesting question. So for that, we will continue along the agenda. And thank you for participating and listening.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Bye.